Chapter 1553. A Life Worse Than Death. Yi Xian's expression was as cold as ice. The soul-suppressing sword in his hand gradually trembled. Mu Xiaodao sized up Yi Xian and smiled. I really didn't expect her to go against the law of misfortune for you. This woman is usually quite smart. Why did she become so stupid this time? Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. How do I get to the Boundless God prison? Mu Xiaodao blinked. You want to go to the Boundless God prison to save her? Yi Xian looked at Mu Xiaodao and suddenly drew his sword. Sword drawing technique. The current sword drawing technique was worlds apart from the previous sword drawing technique. This was because he was now in the mortal realm. When the sword fell, heaven and earth were torn apart. In the distance, Mu Xiaodao opened her palm and the flying knife in her hand suddenly flew out. A sharp and ear-piercing tearing sound suddenly resounded. This flying knife directly slashed the tip of Yi Xian's sword. Boom! In front of Yi Xian, a beam of sword light suddenly exploded, and he was sent flying backward. He was sent flying thousands of feet away. After stopping, his arm felt numb. At the same time, a trace of blood slowly flowed out from the corner of his mouth. In the distance, Mu Xiaodao opened her palm and a flying knife appeared in her palm. She slowly walked towards Yi Xian and smiled. Are you in despair? You want to save her, but there's nothing you can do. Yi Xian chuckled. I suddenly realized that this so-called order of yours is very trashy. Mu Xiaodao caught the flying knife with 2 fingers and looked at Yi Xian. Are you questioning our Cosmos God Court? Yi Xian looked at Mu Xiaodao and pointed his sword at her. Yes. As his voice fell, he suddenly charged forward and instantly appeared in front of Mu Xiaodao and slashed down with his sword. In Mu Xiaodao's palm, a flying knife directly turned into a blade light and flew out. Boom! A wave of sword light shattered again and Yi Xian instantly retreated thousands of meters. However, at this moment, a sword suddenly appeared in front of Mu Xiaodao's forehead. Instant kill sword. Mu Xiaodao's expression was calm as she tilted her head slightly, once again dodging the sword by a hair's breadth. At the same time, the flying knife in her hand had already flown out. In the distance, Yi Xian blocked with his sword. Boom! The soul-suppressing sword in his hand trembled violently, and his entire body was sent flying again. At this moment, another flying knife appeared in Mu Xiaodao's hand. She looked at Yi Xian and chuckled. I know that you don't like our Cosmos God Court. However, what can you do? You can't beat him one-on-one. You won't be able to beat them in numbers. Are you angry? As she said that, she blinked. I know. You want to say that I'm bullying the weak. I like to bully the weak. What can you do to me? Yi. His words struck at the heart. She was purposely trying to provoke Yi Xian. It was easier to deal with an angry person. Of course, what she was truly worried about was that Yi Xian possessed that formidable sword chi from before. In the distance, Yi Xian wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. He laughed. Are you trying to provoke me? Mu Xiaodao looked at Yi Xian. Do you know what will happen to little heir? Her physical body has already been shattered, and her soul will be thrown into the Boundless God prison. She will be burned by the heavenly law divine fire for eternity. Not only will there be the heavenly law divine fire, there will also be the 10,000 tribulation lightning soul refinement, divine water soul immersion, absolute ice spirit soul freezing. Most importantly, she will suffer the millions of lashes of the law soul whip every day. That feeling tsk. After a moment of silence, Yi Xian opened his palm. The soul-suppressing sword in his hand turned into a sword spirit. The sword of the green-robed man. Yi Xian's expression suddenly turned ferocious. Woman, you said that I can't beat you one-on-one. Alright, let's fight one-on-one now. Remember, whoever calls for a helper is a dog. Boom. As his voice fell, his eyes turned blood red. At the same time, a surge of blood surged from his body. Boom. The entire starry sky turned into a sea of blood. Seeing this scene, Mu Xiaodao's eyes narrowed. What the hell is this? At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly disappeared on the spot. The flying knife in Mu Xiaodao's hand suddenly flew out. In the distance, Yi Xian suddenly slashed down with his sword. The sword light was blood red. Boom. As the sword descended, Mu Xiaodao's flying knife was directly stopped. At this moment, the strength of both sides was actually equal. Seeing this scene, Mu Xiaodao frowned. What the hell is this? At this moment, Yi Xian suddenly stomped his right foot. Boom. Space instantly exploded, and the flying knife in front of him was directly slashed away. At the same time, he directly turned into a blood-red light and slashed at Mu Xiaodao. Mu Xiaodao did not retreat. Instead, he advanced and slashed at Yi Xian. Head-on. Boom. A bloody light suddenly erupted not far away, and Yi Xian instantly retreated several thousand feet, while Mu Xiaodao also retreated nearly 3,000 feet. After he stopped, Mu Xiaodao looked at the chipped flying knife in disbelief. This, as she spoke, she looked at Yi Xian who was nearby with disbelief. What the hell is this? How could his bloodline be so heaven-defying? In the distance, Yi Xian didn't waste his breath. He charged forward once more and slashed down at Mu Xiaodao. A wisp of viciousness flashed in Mu Xiaodao's eyes. I refuse to believe that I can't defeat you. As soon as she finished speaking, she took a step forward, and the flying knife in her palm suddenly flew out. Skybreaker. Army Destroyer. As the knife flew out, the entire world became illusory. In the distance, Yi Xian suddenly sheathed his sword. In the next moment, he suddenly drew his sword and slashed. Sword drawing technique. With a single slash, the space in an area of hundreds of thousands of meters exploded. Bang! Yi Xian's sword forcefully stopped Mu Xiaodao's flying knife. At the instant the sword came into contact with the flying knife, the space in an area of hundreds of thousands of kilometers turned pitch black. This world was utterly unable to endure the strength of the two of them. Right at this moment, Mu Xiaodao suddenly vanished on the spot. At practically the exact same moment, Yi Xian suddenly turned around and slashed down with his sword. Rumble. A figure was directly slashed back. It was Mu Xiaodao. As for Yi Xian, he retreated over 1 kilometer. After he stopped, Yi Xian held his sword and pointed it downwards. Powerful sword intent and aura erupted ceaselessly from his body like a volcano. In the distance, Mu Xiaodao stared fixedly at Yi Xian. She noticed that Yi Xian's aura was increasing explosively at every moment as if there was no limit. Mu Xiaodao frowned deeply. Just what kind of plaything was this bloodline? It's actually so heaven-defying. Although Yi Xian had reached the mortal realm, he had only just reached the mortal realm. There was still a huge gap between them. But at this moment, this mysterious bloodline power had actually made up for this gap. Most importantly, Yi Xian was still growing stronger. Thinking up to here, Mu Xiaodao spread out her palm. She knew that she had to end this battle quickly. Mu Xiaodao took a step forward. Above his head, an illusory flying knife suddenly condensed. In the distance, Yi Xian seemed to sense danger and suddenly disappeared on the spot. Strike first and gain the upper hand. But Mu Xiaodao did not give him this chance. Mu Xiaodao's soul suddenly unsheathed. Her soul directly grabbed the flying knife and slashed forward. God-slaying. 1/God-slaying. At the instant the knife was slashed out, a formidable force suddenly shot into the sky and directly shot into the starry sky that was 500,000 kilometers away, causing the entire starry sky to seethe. At the instant that Mu Xiaodao slashed out, Yi Xian suddenly utilized his sword domain. At the instant the sword domain appeared, the flying knife was directly suppressed. However, Yi Xian's countenance instantly turned pale like a sheet of paper. Moreover, the strength of the flying knife hadn't vanished, and it had merely slowed down slightly. Yi Xian suddenly took a step forward and slashed down with his sword. Rumble. This sword strike contained the strength of his sword domain. As soon as the sword descended, his sword domain was directly shattered into pieces, and the flying knife trembled violently as well. After that, 2 strands of formidable force suddenly erupted. Bang! Yi Xian was instantly blasted over 10 kilometers away. As soon as he stopped, his entire body split open and blood sprayed. On the other hand, Mu Xiaodao was blasted 3 kilometers away as well. These 2 forces were too strong. Even if it was her, she was unable to completely resist those 2 forces. After stopping, Mu Xiaodao raised her head to look at Yi Xian who was nearby. When she saw that Yi Xian was heavily injured, the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. "I've finally crippled you." As she spoke, she opened her palm and a flying knife appeared in her palm. She was about to attack again, but the smile on the corners of her mouth suddenly froze. Because in the distance, Yi Xian's wounds were recovering at a terrifying speed. The undying bloodline. At this moment, within Yi Xian's body, the undying bloodline was madly repairing Yi Xian's body. Moreover, Yi Xian's mad demon bloodline didn't suppress the undying bloodline. At this critical moment, the mad demon bloodline didn't act recklessly. Of course, it wasn't that it didn't act recklessly, but it was because of the sword spirit. When the sword spirit was present, the mad demon bloodline still had to give him face. Soon Yi Xian's injuries were almost fully recovered. In the distance, Mu Xiaodao stared at Yi Xian. "These 2 bloodlines of yours are really abnormal." At this moment in the distance, Yi Xian suddenly said in a ferocious voice, "Please kill me." At this moment he hadn't completely entered the mad demon state. Because he still had something very important to do, so he didn't dare to let himself completely enter the mad demon state. He must maintain a trace of consciousness. Mu Xiaodao looked at Yi Xian, so arrogant. As she spoke, the flying knife in her hand suddenly flew out. In the distance, Yi Xian stabbed out with his sword. Boom. The flying knife was forced to stop in place by his sword. The next moment, Yi Xian suddenly disappeared. In the distance, Mu Xiaodao blocked with her knife. Boom. A blood-colored sword light erupted, and Mu Xiaodao was directly pushed back. But Yi Xian didn't stop and rushed forward again. Soon the two of them fought fiercely. Yi Xian was still at a slight disadvantage, but the more he fought, the stronger he became. Especially relying on the powerful recovery ability of the immortal bloodline, the more he fought, the fiercer he became. The power of the two bloodlines forcibly closed the gap between him and Mu Xiaodao. Of course, the most important thing was that he was now in the mortal realm. After the mortal realm, the mad demon bloodline was even more terrifying. At this moment, Mu Xiaodao suddenly stopped in the distance. She looked at Yi Xian and said angrily, "You're really shameless, you actually used foreign objects. I'm warning you now, if you don't stop using foreign objects, I'll beat you up." Yi Xian. At this moment, Xiaota suddenly said angrily, "F***ck. This woman is actually more shameless than you, young master." Chapter 1554. Group Fight. Actually, Mu Xiaodao felt extremely sullen in her heart. Because she realized that she couldn't kill Yi Xian. With the help of the two bloodlines, Yi Xian was able to compete with her. Of course, it wasn't very possible for Yi Xian to kill her. But it wasn't a good idea to continue like this. Because Yi Xian was becoming stronger and stronger. Her main purpose of coming here was to kill Yi Xian. In the distance, Yi Xian slowly closed his eyes. A sea of blood surged around him. Mad demon bloodline. He realized that if it wasn't for the sword spirit's help, he wouldn't be able to control the mad demon bloodline. Suddenly Mu Xiaodao said, "I'm warning you for the last time. If you continue to use external force, I'll beat you up." Yi Xian looked at Mu Xiaodao and opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with a sea of blood. "Woman, you're bullying the weak and you won't let me use external force?" Mu Xiaodao said angrily, "What do you mean by bullying the weak? You're in the mortal realm and so am I. Is this bullying the weak? Moreover, you're a man and I'm a woman. Don't you think it's shameful for a man like you to use external force to fight a woman?" Yi Xian cursed, "Shameful your mother. Is that what you're saying? You're a super expert after all. Can't you have some face?" Mu Xiaodao slapped his face. "Face is just skin. What's the use of it? What's the use?" Yi Xian, in the prison pagoda, Xiaota sighed, "It's over. In terms of shamelessness, young master has met his match." Mu Xiaodao suddenly said, "Since you insist on using external force, then I won't be polite anymore." As she spoke, she looked at Yan Mo. "Let's beat him up together." Yan Mo nodded slightly. He'd wanted to do that for a long time. Mu Xiaodao opened his palm and a flying dagger flashed across the field. Yan Mo and the others disappeared on the spot as well. Ganging up. In the distance, Yi Xian's expression suddenly changed. He held his sword with both hands and slashed forward. Boom. The flying dagger was stopped by his sword, but at this moment hundreds of afterimages suddenly appeared around him. The saber light swept across, shattering the space. Yi Xian stomped his right foot and retreated. At the same time he swung the sword in his hand. Boom 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 boom. As a series of explosions rang out, Yi Xian kept retreating. While he was retreating, the saber gleams drowned him like a torrential storm. At this time Mu Xiaodao, who was far away, suddenly threw out his fingers. A flying dagger suddenly disappeared into the saber radiance. Boom. The saber light directly exploded, and Yi Xian instantly retreated several tens of thousands of meters away. As soon as he stopped, his chest split open and blood spurted out. It was caused by a flying dagger. Heavy injuries. If it wasn't for the undying bloodline that was repairing his body, he would be dead by now. Right at this moment, Yan Mo and the others charged towards him again. However, when these 1,000 cavalrymen charged in formation, just their aura alone could split the heavens and shatter the earth. As soon as the 1,000 undying blood knights charged out, everyone in the surroundings felt a strand of pressure descend upon them. Even Yi Xian felt an extremely strong pressure, and he had no choice but to use his sword intent to resist. At this moment, the commander of the undying blood cavalry suddenly looked at Yi Xian, and in the next moment he put away his spear and slightly lowered his head. "Greetings, young master." Behind him, the 1,000 undying blood cavalry simultaneously lowered their heads, and said in unison, "Greetings, young master." and the 1,000 giant dragons beneath them also suddenly lowered their heads, in a subservient posture. Yi Xian was somewhat dumbfounded. At this moment, the spatial tunnel that led to the 9th dimension suddenly trembled. There were more experts rushing over. Looking at the experts of the 9th dimension kneeling on one knee in front of him, Yi Xian softly sighed. At this moment, Xiao Ta asked, "Young master, why are you sighing?" Yi Xian looked towards the horizon and softly said, "In the past, when I said that I was the son of the 9th dimension, not only did they not believe me, they even said that I was bragging." Xiao Ta. P.S. Yesterday a reader told me that I can publish it on time. This way I won't be late anymore. That's great. End of this chapter. They had only sent 3 of them. What were they thinking? Are you looking down on the undying imperial clan? The divine word master said in a deep voice, "It is not that we look down on the undying imperial clan. Merely, we never expected that the undying imperial clan would actually fight to the death for this person. Guardian, you must not retreat. There are already super experts from our palace rushing over. If you retreat, the people here will be in danger." At this moment he was really worried. If it was any other law enforcer he wouldn't be worried. But this Mu Xiaodao, this woman, didn't act according to common sense. She would really do something like betraying her teammates. In the entire Cosmos God Court, other than the laws of their universe, no one else could control them. Mu Xiaodao said indifferently, "Who came to the Hall of Speech?" The divine sage said in a deep voice, "The white-robed priest has arrived." White-robed divine sage. Mu Xiaodao's expression changed slightly. However, she still didn't speak. The divine sage said again, "Other than that, the Dark Hall's divine guards have arrived. The one leading them is the mistress of the Dark Hall. Also, another guardian is already rushing over here." "Guardian?" Mu Xiaodao hurriedly asked, "Do you know who it is?" The divine sage shook his head. "I don't know." Mu Xiaodao said softly, "Who could it be?" At this moment, a man suddenly appeared beside Dongli Jing. This person was Nan Xing, who was in charge of intelligence. Nan Xing said in a deep voice, "Patriarch, there is a group of super experts rushing towards us through the star field. They are very strong. Our people can't stop them. In at most 15 minutes they will appear here." Dongli Jing looked at Mu Xiaodao. There was a rare trace of seriousness in her eyes. How strong was the Cosmos God Court? She didn't know either. This was because the Cosmos God Court rarely appeared in the eyes of the world. Even to the undying imperial clan, the Cosmos God Court was very mysterious. Now there were experts from the Cosmos God Court rushing over. This proved that the Cosmos God Court wasn't afraid of the undying imperial clan. They also chose to fight the undying imperial clan head-on. At this point, Dongli Jing suddenly turned to look at Yi Xian. Double bloodline. Mortal sword. Seeing Dongli Jing look over, Yi Xian was about to speak. Dongli Jing suddenly transmitted his Xian Qi. "Little fella, you have to cooperate with me later." Yi Xian was slightly confused. "Oh." Dongli Jing said, "There is a group of super experts from the Cosmos God Court rushing over. I don't know how strong they are. If they are too strong, I will need to mobilize a mysterious army of the undying imperial clan. However, this mysterious army is stationed in the undying world. They will only act when the family is in danger. I need them to leave the undying world. In order for them to leave the undying world, I need a reason that they can't refuse." At this moment, cracks had appeared on the spatial passageway that led to the 9th dimension from Dongli Jing's ferocious attacks. Mu Xiaodao frowned slightly and said, "Why don't you stop him yourself?" The corners of the divine word master's mouth twitched. "Miss Mu, I have to maintain this teleportation formation, control the divine lightning to keep those 2 swordsmen busy, and I have to constantly strengthen the sealed spatial passageway." Actually, he was very angry in his heart. Damn it. Was this Mu Xiaodao sent by them? He didn't dare to scold her or fight her. Why did the laws of the universe send this idiot to capture the people of misfortune? Wasn't she sent to cause trouble? No. As if thinking of something, the divine word master's expression suddenly changed. He looked at Mu Xiaodao and said, "Miss Mu, you didn't come here by yourself, did you?" Mu Xiaodao blinked innocently and said, "What do you mean by myself?" Seeing this, the divine word master's expression sank. This woman wasn't sent by the laws of the universe. She definitely came here by herself. Thinking of this, the divine word master's expression sank even more. Without the restrictions of the laws of the universe, this woman could ascend to the heavens. Thinking of this, The Divine Word Master opened his palm and was about to recite an incantation to report this matter to the Cosmos God Court. At this moment, Mu Xiaodao suddenly said, "If you dare speak nonsense, I will hack you to death." Saying this, she opened her palm and a flying knife appeared in it. The Divine Word Master's expression froze. At this moment, his heart was crumbling. How could there be such a strange woman? Was this woman really not from the other side? Right at this moment, Yi Xian suddenly transformed into a ray of sword light and charged towards the experts of the Great Qing dynasty. Instant kill. The sword light lit up and a head flew into the air. Yi Xian was about to attack again when a flying knife suddenly slashed towards him. Yi Xian's expression changed and he swiftly turned around and slashed down with his sword. 4 domains. Boom. Yi Xian was sent flying. After sending Yi Xian flying with a single strike, Mu Xiaodao was about to attack again. Right at this moment, the cosmos barrier seal in the distance suddenly shattered. In the next moment, a furious roar suddenly sounded out from the spatial teleportation channel. Who dares to bully the young master of my undying imperial clan? Who dares? Who dares? Countless experts roared in unison from within the spatial passageway. Following that, countless experts charged out of the spatial passageway. Countless powerful auras caused the starry sky to tremble. At the same time, the space around the starry sky suddenly trembled. In the next moment, space split open and 10 old men walked out. Elders of the 10 realms. The Grand Elder who led the group roared, "Who dares to bully the young master of the undying imperial clan?" If we slaughter living beings for our goal, then what is the point of us protecting it? Mu Tian stared at Mai Yi. Then what about our people? We came all the way here, are our lives not important? Mai Yi shook her head. Marshal Mu Tian, back then when the Cosmos God Court helped the Great Qing dynasty, the Great Qing dynasty promised that they would not reject any request of the Cosmos God Court. There is a cause and effect. This is what the Great Qing dynasty owes us. Moreover, you came here for benefits, not because of the Cosmos God Court's call. You also want to borrow the power of the Cosmos God Court to destroy the Undying Emperor clan, then divide this universe. Mu Tian went silent. In the past, the Cosmos God Court had indeed helped the Great Qing dynasty. Moreover, as Mai Yi had said, the Great Qing Emperor's goal was to divide the Undying Emperor clan's territory. Mai Yi turned and looked into the distance. The Cosmos God Court started a war to protect the order of the universe, to prevent the calamity entity from continuing to live, not to slaughter living beings. Marshal Mu Tian, Yi Xian is a person with the adversity body, but the 5th dimension isn't. Hence, our Cosmos God Court will only target him and those who help him. If the 5th dimension doesn't help him, we won't massacre the 5th dimension. Mu Tian looked at Mai Yi. Then what do you think we should do? Should we take the initiative to attack? Mai Yi said, if I head to the 5th dimension they will definitely send people to stop me. Therefore there is no point. Now that they have left the 9th dimension, we do not need to forcefully attack the 9th dimension. Our goal has been achieved, so let's attack. Otherwise, when the 2 swordsmen are free, the situation will be even more disadvantageous to us. Mu Tian went silent. He still wanted to use the 5th dimension to make the Undying Emperor clan hesitate. Because if their blade fell into the 5th dimension, the Undying Emperor clan would definitely be the ones who would not be able to sit still. However, the Cosmos God Court did not allow it. How pedantic. Damn faith. Mu Tian took in a deep breath, then roared, "Where is the Great Qing cavalry?" Here. Behind him, close to 60,000 cavalry roared in unison, their voices like thunder, shaking the starry sky. Mu Tian pointed at Dong Lijian and roared, "Undying Emperor clan, hand over 1 person in exchange for countless lives. This is your Undying Emperor clan's last chance." Dong Lijian went silent. To the side, Mai Yi looked to Dong Lijian. If you are willing to hand over the person with the disaster body, the Undying Imperial clan can continue to exist. Dong Lijian suddenly laughed and said, "Come and fight." Mu Tian suddenly raised his right hand and waved it down. Cavalry attack. Charge. Over 60,000 cavalrymen suddenly roared in unison and charged towards Dong Lijian in the distance. The charge of the cavalry shook the starry sky.